The blackness of space stretched infinitely, an unbroken void speckled with distant suns, indifferent and cold. Somewhere, at the fraying edge of the known human sector, the planet Karen 9 spun like a cursed jewel. Its surface was a nightmare of jagged canyons, poisonous storms, and oceans of liquid acid that hissed as the thin atmosphere failed to contain them. For centuries, explorers had whispered its name with dread. Death World. A planet that swallowed men whole, indifferent to their screams. Inside the command dome of the outpost Haven 12, Captain Marcus Caldwell stared at the observation panel, his face bathed in the dim green glow of emergency lights. He had been in the human fleet long enough to have seen 1,000 horrors, yet this was something else entirely. The SOS transmitter blinked urgently, a tiny heartbeat in the infinite darkness. Every second they delayed risked the annihilation of the few dozen scientists and soldiers clinging to life below. The Varkesh were relentless, their chittering cries echoing through the valleys like some monstrous symphony. Lieutenant Sarah Harlow's voice cracked over the comms. "Captain, sensors confirm multiple ground breaches. There." A screech cut her off, a sound that made the metal walls vibrate, and a Varkesh clawed through the reinforced wall, shattering the room with the smell of ozone and blood. Caldwell's rifle barked, hot plasma punching through the creature's chest. It stumbled, screeching, then fell. "Sarah! Evacuate the lab teams. Now!" Caldwell barked. His voice carried authority, but underneath was raw fear, not for himself, but for the people depending on him. The station shook again, and Commander Rick Donovan shouted over the comm, "Signals ready. SOS launched. All sectors pinged. We just have to hope someone hears us." Caldwell's jaw clenched. Hope, the word tasted like ash in his mouth. He had been through campaigns where hope died before the first enemy shot was fired. But he had no choice. This was humanity's edge, its gamble: broadcast a distress call into the black, and pray the stars answered. On the surface, Dr. Emily Greer crouched among the jagged rocks of the canyon rim, scanning the approaching shadow of Varkesh. Her knowledge of the alien physiology had kept them alive longer than they deserved, and yet, she whispered a prayer to gods she didn't believe in. "Emily," Caldwell's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Hold position. The fleet, it has to come." And then, far beyond the horizon, tiny pinpricks of light began to appear: 1, 2, 10. Their movement deliberate, precise, and terrifyingly fast. The Varkesh paused, sensing the change in the battlefield. "They're coming," Greer breathed, disbelief tinged with awe. Caldwell allowed himself a grim smile. Not victory, not yet, but reinforcements. The legends of human dreadnoughts weren't mere tales told to scare cadets. Entire fleets, bristling with weapons that could annihilate moons, were real. And now, they were responding. The first of the colossal ships broke the horizon, USS Conqueror, its hull reflecting the starlight like a black monolith. Beside it, the USS Resolute and the USS Dauntless cut through the void, warships sculpted from human ingenuity, history, and sheer willpower. The Varkesh hissed, a sound no human could ignore, as if the stars themselves had betrayed them. Inside the Conqueror's command bridge, Captain Marcus Caldwell's old friend, Admiral Robert Bobby Hayes, observed the chaos through the targeting monitors. His hands clenched the railing. "Caldwell," he said, voice steady, carrying decades of experience, "we're here. You're not alone anymore." Back on Karen 9, Caldwell relayed the words to the outpost, his heart hammering. "All units, lock on to friendly fleet vectors. Prepare to coordinate. This fight, it's not ours alone anymore." The Varkesh, sensing their prey slipping from their grasp, surged forward with renewed ferocity. From the jagged canyons and chemical storms, they emerged, sleek, sinewy, and monstrous, black as obsidian and cruel as the void itself. The first salvo from the human fleet lit up the sky. Plasma cannons ripped through the alien ranks, tearing creatures in half before they could even close in on the outpost. Explosions ignited acidic clouds, painting the night with flashes of fire and green lightning. The soundless vacuum carried none of the destruction, but on the surface, the humans felt it like a physical weight, a thunderous roar inside their minds. Amid the chaos, Caldwell's eyes met Harlow's over the helmet visor cam. "We make it through tonight, Sarah, we make it through, we live to see them pay." She nodded, gripping her rifle, her face illuminated by the flashes of battle.
We'll make them regret ever touching Karen 9.
Somewhere in the distance, Greer saw a young soldier fall to a Varkesh strike, but human reinforcements flanked the beast with overwhelming firepower. For the first time in what felt like eternity, the humans on the planet believed in something more than hope, survival. And in the void above, the dreadnoughts held the line, a silent testament to human resilience.
The SOS had been sent.
The stars had answered. Yet, somewhere deep within the swirling shadows, the Varkesh commander tilted its head, observing the newcomers. It understood, in its alien way, that the game had changed. And for the first time, it hesitated. Caldwell felt the shift in the battlefield, a subtle tension in the air, as if the universe itself had paused.
This was only the beginning. The war for Karen 9 had just ignited.
The void above Karen 9 trembled with tension, a weightless storm of light and metal. From orbit, the human dreadnought fleet cast long shadows across the planet's jagged surface. Each ship was a fortress, bristling with weapons, carrying thousands of trained soldiers, engineers, and strategists, humanity's finest, assembled to confront an enemy whose very existence defied comprehension. Captain Marcus Caldwell crouched behind the reinforced viewport of Haven 12's command dome, feeling the reverberations of distant orbital cannons in his chest. Even through layers of hull and gravity stabilization, the sheer magnitude of human firepower hitting the Varkesh lines shook him to his core.
Lieutenant Sarah Harlow's fingers danced across the tactical console, tracking enemy movements and coordinating defensive fire. Captain, they're splitting into 3 main swarms.
If they hit the eastern ridge, the lab teams won't survive.
Caldwell's jaw tightened. Then we draw their attention there. Use the terrain, lure them. Don't let them corner the outpost. Emily, status?
Dr. Emily Greer's voice came over the calm yet urgent.
They're adapting. Their attacks are no longer random, they're learning from each volley we fire. Plasma strikes, projectile traps, ambush vectors. I've never seen anything like it.
Caldwell's stomach clenched. The Varkesh weren't just killing machines, they were intelligent hunters, capable of analyzing and adjusting mid-combat.
Human firepower might be overwhelming, but clever predators didn't die quietly.
Outside, the surface erupted in a kaleidoscope of destruction.
Plasma bolts lanced through acid storms, and explosive rounds turned canyon walls into molten rubble.
The Varkesh screeched in coordinated fury, advancing like a living tide over the scarred terrain. Commander Rick Donovan's voice cut through the calms, sardonic but tense. Captain, I swear, if these things survive one more orbital strike and make it to the ridge, I'm going to personally.
Focus, Rick. Caldwell snapped, cutting him off.
Donovan grinned beneath the visor, unfazed.
Yes, sir.
Caldwell glanced toward the distant horizon. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the jagged terrain, flickering with the orange glow of fire and molten rock. It was a surreal battlefield, almost too vast to comprehend, yet every second mattered. Every life, every strategy, every pulse of human ingenuity could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. Orbital strike ready, Donovan announced.
3, 2, 1.
A blinding light tore across the battlefield as the dreadnought's cannons fired in unison. Massive plasma lances pierced the night sky, converging on the densest cluster of Varkesh.
The alien swarm howled in an unholy chorus, thrown into temporary chaos. Caldwell could see them falter, their sinuous bodies twisting as molten fire struck. Harlow's voice was steady, almost clinical. They're retreating, no, they're regrouping. They're faster this time. Target vectors recalibrating.
Caldwell's fists clenched. They learned too fast. His mind raced. The odds were against them. Even with the dreadnought fleet raining destruction from orbit, the Varkesh were unpredictable, relentless, and adaptive. Humanity had to match cunning with firepower, or this battle would become a massacre.
Emily, he called. Any insight on a weak point?
There was a pause before her voice came, tinged with awe. They have a central coordination organ, sort of like a hive mind node.
It pulses whenever they're recalibrating strategy.
Hit that, disrupt their coordination, and you can control the swarm.
Caldwell's heart pounded. We'll need a strike team. Risky, but it might be the only way to stop them before they overwhelm the outpost. The odds were impossible. A small team, barely a fraction of the surviving soldiers, against a swarm that could wipe out entire colonies in hours. And yet, desperation breeds audacity. Caldwell's eyes met Harlow's, and in that silent exchange, they agreed they would not go quietly. They would fight, and they would make the enemy regret underestimating humanity. On the jagged eastern ridge, the first strike team deployed. Plasma rifles glowing, grenades strapped, they moved like shadows among the ruins. Caldwell led from the front, Harlow by his side, Donovan coordinating comms, and Greer scanning for the Varkesh hive node. Explosions tore through the canyons as they advanced. A Varkesh leaped from behind a jagged rock, claws extended. Caldwell fired, the plasma bolts tearing through the creature. Harlow's tactical maneuvers ensured no one was flanked. For every alien they killed, 2 more appeared. The swarm seemed endless. From orbit, the dreadnoughts maintained suppressive fire, each strike carefully calculated to avoid hitting the human team. Massive energy beams rained from above, tearing through the swarm, shaking the planet's crust, yet the Varkesh adapted, learning to anticipate trajectories. Greer's voice came, sharp now, tinged with fear and exhilaration. Node in sight. 40 meters ahead, South Ridge. Caldwell's blood ran hot with adrenaline. Move fast. Cover each other. We take it out, or none of us survive. The ridge trembled as the hive node loomed, an obsidian mass, pulsing faintly with bioluminescent light, the heart of the Varkesh's intelligence. Every pulse seemed to echo inside their heads, a psychic pressure that made the air feel thick and heavy. Then the swarm attacked with renewed ferocity. Claws, acid, and teeth rained down. Soldiers fell. Screams cut through the roar of the battlefield. Caldwell fired relentlessly, Harlow coordinated defensive positions, and Donovan relayed orbital support. But the hive node remained protected, monstrous and alive. Caldwell. They're adapting to the orbital strikes now. They anticipate the timing. Donovan shouted. Caldwell's mind raced. One chance. He grabbed a plasma charge, its blue light reflecting in his visor. Harlow, cover me. I'm going in. Without hesitation, she nodded. The team formed a protective perimeter, their bodies shields against the relentless tide of alien terror. Caldwell sprinted toward the node, throwing the plasma charge with precise timing. The explosion detonated, a blinding flash that lit the horizon. The hive node convulsed, black matter flaring as it screamed, a sound no human was meant to hear. The swarm faltered, disorganized for the first time, their psychic coordination shattered. Greer gasped in disbelief. It worked! From orbit, the dreadnoughts hammered the remaining alien clusters. Without coordination, the Varkesh fell like dominoes. The tide of battle shifted. The humans on Karen 9 began to reclaim the battlefield, step by painful step, each victory a testament to courage, skill, and the unbreakable human spirit. Caldwell stood over the smoldering remains of the hive node, sweat and grime streaking his face. This is only the beginning, he muttered, knowing the Varkesh were still alive somewhere in the depths of the canyons, waiting, calculating, learning. Harlow placed a hand on his shoulder. We survived today. That's enough for now. Caldwell allowed himself a brief, weary smile. Enough for now, he echoed. Yet in his heart, he knew the war was far from over. Humanity had struck first, struck hard, and survived, but survival in this galaxy would demand more than courage. It would demand everything they had. And somewhere in orbit, the Dreadnought fleet held steady, a silent promise to the people below: humanity does not abandon its own. The stars had answered. And the humans had risen to meet them. The night sky over Karen 9 burned with unnatural light. The jagged canyons, once silent tombs of human curiosity, now trembled under the relentless fire of war. From orbit, the human dreadnought fleet held their positions like titanic guardians, their weapons trained on every shadow, every movement. Below, the planet's surface had become a surreal battlefield: molten craters, shattered rock formations, and the twisted remains of the Varkesh littered the canyon floor.
Captain Marcus Caldwell crouched behind a ridge, surveying the battlefield with a mixture of exhaustion and grim determination. The hive node was destroyed, but the Varkesh had adapted again. Smaller swarms, more cautious, stalked the human forces like predators testing prey. Every move counted. Every misstep meant death. Lieutenant Sarah Harlow scanned the terrain through her visor. Captain, new formations. They're coordinating again, but slower, disorganized. If we strike smart, we can finish this. Caldwell nodded, heart hammering. Then we hit fast and hit hard. Emily, you've got eyes on the terrain, where's their central position? Dr. Emily Greer's voice, tinged with adrenaline, replied. Southwest Canyon. Massive subterranean structure. It's like a nest, probably their last command point. If we take that out, we can cripple their operations here completely. Caldwell's gaze hardened. Then that's our target. Prepare the strike team. Commander Rick Donovan, who had been coordinating orbital fire, interjected with his usual dark humor, though the tension in his voice betrayed him. Captain, you sure you want to lead from the front again? You've got a way of almost dying spectacularly. Caldwell smirked faintly, exhaustion etched in every line of his face. Some things are worth risking everything for. Let's move. The strike team advanced through the molten battlefield. Every step was calculated, every movement silent, save for the occasional screech of a distant Varkesh patrol. The human forces had learned their enemies' patterns, using speed, precision, and sheer audacity to stay ahead of the swarm. Suddenly, the ground quaked. From the shadows of the canyon, a colossal Varkesh emerged, larger, stronger, and far more terrifying than any previously encountered. Its body glistened with chitinous armor, and its multiple limbs lashed through the air with lethal grace. It was the apex of their species, a living weapon honed for destruction. Caldwell's pulse spiked. Everyone, engage with everything you've got. We take that monster down first, or we don't leave this canyon alive. The battle erupted in a maelstrom of fire, claws, and plasma. Caldwell and Harlow led the human soldiers in a coordinated assault, dodging crushing blows, returning fire with calculated precision. Donovan's orbital strikes carved devastating swaths through the enemy lines, each explosion sending shockwaves that rattled the canyon walls. Dr. Greer's voice cut through the calm amidst chaos. Captain, its neural nodes are exposed, behind the carapace on its back. That's the only chance to disable it. Caldwell's eyes narrowed. Understood. Harlow, cover me. I'm going up. The climb was perilous. The Varkesh apex twisted, its limbs smashing the canyon floor, sending soldiers sprawling. Caldwell leapt, dodged, and fired, every movement driven by pure instinct. He reached the node, planted a plasma charge, and jumped clear as it detonated. The explosion was cataclysmic, shaking the canyon like an earthquake. The apex shrieked, convulsing, then fell silent. A cheer erupted from the strike team, but Caldwell knew better than to celebrate too soon. From deeper within the canyon, the remaining Varkesh forces regrouped, but they were disoriented, disorganized, and leaderless. Caldwell's team advanced, pushing the swarm back toward the human orbital fire. Plasma cannons, railguns, and missile volleys tore through the enemy ranks with brutal efficiency. Hours passed like minutes. Every step forward was paid for in blood and sweat, but slowly, the humans reclaimed the battlefield. The planet's surface was scarred, smoking, and twisted, yet alive with human determination. Finally, the last Varkesh retreated into the darkness, leaving only the echo of their screeches behind. Caldwell dropped to his knees, breathing heavily, grime and blood streaking his face. Around him, the strike team tended to the wounded, reloading weapons, and scanning for any final threats. Harlow approached, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We did it," she said softly, exhaustion and relief mingling in her voice. Caldwell shook his head, voice hoarse. "We survived. But this is just one battle. There's more out there. And they'll learn from this." Dr. Greer knelt beside the remnants of a Varkesh, examining the alien physiology. "They are adaptable, yes. But today we showed them human resilience. We've sent a message they won't forget.
Above, the human Dreadnought fleet held position, engines humming, weapons still primed. Admiral Hayes's voice crackled over the calm, steady and resolute. "Captain Caldwell, Karen 9 is secure. For now. You've earned humanity's gratitude and respect."
Caldwell allowed himself a tired, fleeting smile.
"Thank you, Admiral. For everyone down here, we couldn't have done it without the fleet."
Donovan's voice came over the calm with his signature wit, despite exhaustion. "Yeah, and for the record, Captain, try not to die again next time, okay?" Caldwell chuckled, the sound rough but genuine.
"I'll try."
The sun began to rise over Karen 9, piercing through the acidic clouds with pale light.
The jagged ridges and cratered plains, once shrouded in darkness, now glimmered with the promise of survival.
The cost had been immense, lives lost, scars carved into both land and soul, but humanity had endured. Caldwell stood, surveying the battlefield one last time. The SOS that had once been a desperate cry for help had summoned more than just firepower. It had summoned hope, courage, and the unbreakable spirit of a species unwilling to yield. As the Dreadnought fleet began its coordinated departure, leaving behind a secure Karen 9, Caldwell's thoughts lingered on those who would never see another sunrise. He vowed silently to honor them, to ensure that humanity's presence in the stars would never be underestimated again. Somewhere beyond the veil of space, new eyes watched. Other species, civilizations, and predators of the cosmos would remember this day, the day humans answered an impossible call and stood against the void, unbowed, unbroken. And on Karen 9, in the stillness after the storm, the survivors whispered among the wreckage.
"We came. We fought. We lived.
And the stars, they will never forget."
The battle was over. Humanity had answered the stars. And humanity had endured.